If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this.
People who caught your significant other red-handed while they were in the act of physically cheating. What was their excuse? How did it go down? About 4 years ago, a mutual friend of ours, mine and my fiancée, came to stay for a while because he fell on hard times out of state. I met him through her when we were teens but never knew the story behind them. Well, I was working a shitty McJob to support myself, my 1-year-old, and both of them at time and worked close to 50 hours a week, had no car, walked rain or shine 3 miles a day to work. One night I got off early cause we were slow and headed home. I tried to call but no one answered. I walk in and right there on my brand new couch was her and our mooch of a friend. I got so enraged I just started kicking the shit out of him. He was a typical do-nothing out of shape loser. My neighbor woke up and came over from hearing us and tackled me. It was 2 a.m. He was trying to save me from killing him. After the cops came and cooler heads prevailed, I found out that they dated before we met and they felt it was true love so they couldn't help themselves. I got an assault charge and a night in jail. The next day they were gone. They moved to Oregon with his mom and left my daughter at my uncle's house. Haven't seen him since, and my daughter, who is 5 now, enjoys her life with me and my now wife of 3 years, who has been very faithful. Last I heard they were living off the state and bouncing between housing. I am now gainfully employed and happy with life. Moral of the story is always know who you are with. Married to my wife 6 months. I work a lot, own a small business, so I'm gone a lot. But I came home from the office part of my day to grab something I needed for a job I was headed to, heard noise in the bedroom, walked in and there she was, riding another guy. They both looked at me, I looked at them, I grabbed what I needed and left quickly, telling her as I turned around that she better be gone when I got back. I called a friend of mine who waited about 2 hours and then went to my place. She had left, taking essentials with her. The following weekend he stood in for me while she removed the rest of her stuff. One mistake I made is that I didn't cancel the credit cards of mine that she had cards of also. She went out that evening with that guy and ran them all up, about 5K or so. They were not major limit cards. I had only had them to help my credit score earlier, and because I was making good money now, had been on a cash-only basis for a long while, which is probably why I forgot. That was basically the end of the finding out. Hiring an attorney for the divorce, who then hired a pie when she replied to my filing with a request for $2K in alimony a month, revealed that she had been cheating through the entire marriage and prior. 2 guys she had been with but dumped agreed to sign affidavits with the attorney. The pie took a crapload of pictures as well. She didn't get the $2K a month once the judge saw all this at the final hearing to finalize the divorce. After we had parted ways but were not divorced yet, this was 6+ years ago, took 6 months and a day in CA then from start to finish. It's now something like 6 weeks. She went to a club and gangbanged about 10 guys in a back room. After the divorce was final, I haven't seen her again. But I know she is in AZ because Shush has tried to get credit in my name there 3 times. I've told this story many times, but didn't elaborate on the actual catching. So there you go. The attorney all told cost about 12 grand, or 6 months of alimony. The attorney told me I'd probably have to pay her about 5 years monthly, so I saved quite a bit on that, for sure. It's possible it could have gone longer than that, had the judge ruled for it, basically his call. This happened to my sister-in-law. My brother-in-law, wife's brother, loses his job just after they have a kid. He says it's because of layoffs. I think he just fucked up, but whatever. For the next year he looks for a job but can't find anything, also bullshit. We live in oil country. So he decides to go back to school. Cue second kid. She's working full-time and taking care of the kids because he's not good at it. She cuts maternity leave short because they're broke. In the span of 3 years they amass 80k in debt because of his schooling, but he promises they'll pay it all back afterwards. He's in a nursing program, so he's probably right. 2 months after he graduates, he gets caught cheating with a girl he's been seeing for the last 6 months. He let her find out, we're all pretty sure. So, they split up just as he gets a job making 120k per year. He sticks her with half the debt from when he went to school. And, as if this needed a fucking cherry on top, he threatens to sue her for half custody of the kids because he can't afford to pay full child support. Not red-handed, but I was working one night while my roommate was throwing a party. A buddy picked me up after my shift and told me we needed to talk. Takes me to the pool hall, pulls off buying us a couple of beers even though we were underage, and tells me my girlfriend was cheating on me at the party. In my bed. When I get there the part is over, everyone is gone, and she's drunk in my bed. I wake her up and tell her I already know what happened, and she's freaking out. I tell her to calm down, that I'm not going to blow up on her, but we need to talk. We end up having an hour-long conversation about her drinking, her life choices, her promiscuity before we were a couple. She says that this is rock bottom for her, and she's ready to sober up and lead a grown-up life. I commended her for the first honest assessment of herself I've ever heard her speak and tell her I can't wait to see her get back to being the kick-ass girl she was when we were in high school together. And then she leans in for a kiss. I back up, and right into her open mouth say, "Whoa, that doesn't mean we're not over after this though." She freaks, and I tell her to sleep it off on the couch because I didn't want her driving home like this, give her keys to my roommate, and take off for the night. It's 12 years later now. I'm married to the girl of my dreams with 2 kids and a big house with a pool, so despite my heartbreak it all worked out for me. I hear she's got several kids herself, but is doing all right with husband number 2. Still felt great when, last year, a mutual friend told me that she still talks about that night being her wake-up call, and that losing me was the worst mistake she ever made. About 4 years back, had my then GF over for the night, usually came over the night before we had uni. She lived about 45 minutes drive from it, I lived about 5. Anyway, she went for a shower, her phone went off with an SMS. I knew she was expecting an SMS from her friend, shouted through the door saying she got one. She asked me to read it out to her. It was the guy she was doing behind my back, saying how good the Friday night was, wishing he was balls deep in her again. I read it out, heard the shower stop, she comes out crying and apologizing. Tell her to get dressed, throw her stuff in my car, and then drive her to her parents. Her mother asks what's going on, explain it to her. She tells me I'm more welcome in her house than her daughter, but I just leave, go get a liter of Jack's, and smash it that night. Take a bottle of rum to uni the next day, drinking it in my chem lecture. Been about 4 years since then, and find it hard to trust someone like that again. Seems small compared to others, but that's my story. There is actually a TV show that is about real-life couples who want a divorce and their reason for wanting a divorce. The couples fight in court because usually one person wants a divorce while the other one doesn't. This one particular story about a couple will always be embedded in my head because of how epic it was. The beginning of the episode started off with the husband treating the wife like absolute crap because according to him she was too naggy and ugly and whatever other reason he had. They had one daughter together, and he gave her shit for that too because he wanted a son. Then one day, he brings home his mistress who, by the way, is considerably younger than both of them because she was pregnant with his child and has the audacity to tell his wife that she's living with them from now on. He kicks his wife out of their bedroom and she's stuck sleeping on the couch and he adores and treats his mistress like a princess because she's pregnant with a boy, like he always wanted. He orders his wife around like a maid, and she basically is a maid for the mistress. The wife didn't want a divorce because she was extremely poor with a daughter, and she didn't have a job, money, or a place to live if she left him. It is important to note that the husband is very wealthy from his business. Then one day, the husband started to physically abuse the wife, and that was when she decided she had enough. She sought out her husband's company's biggest rival group and asked to talk to the CEO of the company. She made a deal with the CEO, telling him that she would leak all of her husband's illegal trades as well as business secrets and partners in exchange for a huge amount of money. He agreed, and the wife earned a shit ton of money while her husband lost his company, ended up completely broke and in debt, with a kid on the way too, lols. He kept begging her to stay and work things out together, and she was like lol nope and wanted a divorce immediately. She ended up getting what little he had: house, car, land, property. All in all, I'd say it went down very, very well. There were a lot of stories for different reasons for divorce that had to do with cheating, but this was the best episode yet. My GF and I were busy a lot. We both worked full-time and had a toddling daughter. I was also in school full-time learning graphic design. It was hectic, and from time to time our apartment needed a lot of work keeping it clean. One day, my ex asks me to take the baby out and spend the day gone so she can clean the house. Not unusual, a 2-year-old baby and an exhausted daddy from his 5-7-A-11p days just get in the way. So, me a floppy hop in the car and go spend the lovely spring day together. Hang out with grandma, go to the park, whatever. We text off and on through the day and talk a few times. After being gone most of the day, it's dinner time. I ask if she wants some help, some dinner, and let her know grandma offered to watch the Flopster. No, I'm getting close to being done, just a bit longer. Okay, no biggie, it's about 6, so I feed the kid, we do bath at grandma's, and around 8:30, she's out. I hang out for a bit, lay the girl down in her bed at grandma's and figure, what the hell, I'll head home and see hats up. I pull into the drive. Now, each building had 8 apartments. Each apartment 10 spots. 2 visitor extras. Our building only had 1 other resident with 2 cars. First thing I notice is a car I've never seen before. A black Oldsmobile Alero. Nothing strange, we have neighbors, it's Saturday. Any one of the other 7 residents could have a guest. But something just isn't sitting right. A lump begins to form. I don't know why, it just does. I park on the street and walk up to the door. Locked. I don't hear anything. Odd, when she cleans she always has the TV or music playing. I unlock the door and the apartment is spotless. Best it's looked since we moved in. Yet, no sign of the girlfriend. I don't hear anything unusual. So I start down the hallway. I'm not being loud. The lump's growing. I get 2 steps down the hall and she bursts out of our bedroom, naked as the day she was born, and shuts the door behind her. My eyes reflexively narrow. You need to leave. Excuse me. This is my goddamn home. I'm not going anywhere. What the fuck's going on? You just need to leave, she says it again. I knew. I knew when I pulled in. I walk purposely down the hall. I brushed by her. I open my door. There, quickly getting his shoes on, is a guy. Scruffy, out of shape, ugly son of a bitch roughly our age. Damn, I know I'm not the best looking dude, but seriously. You cheat on me with that? I say out loud. I'm sorry, man. I didn't know, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Fatty McFucked my GF gets his cane, yes, cane, and not one would use trying to look dapper, but a cheap aluminum one from the drugstore, and awkwardly tries to slip by me. I only realize what he sees. Fury. Unadulterated, ice cold, The type of anger that loops past destroy everything into eerie calm. The type of anger that creates true fear in a person when they see it. My eyes are pinholes, my head cocked down. My fists are clenched so tightly I can feel blood from my, admittedly past due for a trim fingernails. I turn so he can pass. Skankatron locks herself in the bathroom to the right of our bedroom door. Fatboy Brokeback lumbers towards my door, stumbling twice in fear of being hit in the back. He leaves. Just go. I hear from the bathroom. I walk into our tiny kitchen and make a sandwich. I sit at the table and eat my salami and Colby cheese sandwich. Spicy mustard and just a dab of mayo. Her phone sits on the table. I flip it open and start reading. At least 3 guys she had been hitting on throughout the day. Fatty fuckstick telling her how he hurt his back years ago backyard wrestling. Her telling him she's single and I'm a deadbeat and complications meant she can't get pregnant so he can go bareback if he wants. Eventually she comes out, gets dressed and sits down. I'm sorry. I barely even acknowledge her. Get out. She leaves. I call my mom and tell her not to let Floppy leave with her. I'd like to say I sent her back home to her trash life in her small town of one closed factory. I'd love to say that. But we had a kid and I didn't want that for her. So I forgave her. She'd cheat on me. I'd catch her. Sometimes before it went past texting. Sometimes before she snuck away. She'd spend months proving herself, earning my trust back just to smash it. Oddly, it was always summer after this incident. Something about July and August. Eventually, we had a second child, my lil man, George. A year or so after that we got married. That summer after marriage was the worst. Eventually, I snapped. I saw myself in the mirror one day and I hated the person staring back at me. He was fat and ugly. He looked defeated. He looked old and tired and broken. He had all but given up, and he wasn't far off from that. I sat on the floor and cried that night. I knew something had to change. My wife came in and bitched. I worked at 5 a.m., but would stay up to see her when she got home at 11 p. I realized that's all she ever did. Never even acknowledged I was living on 6 or less hours sleep, getting through an afternoon with 2 small children while she worked. She'd have grandma come and help with the kids each morning, and take lil man with her. Who knows how she spent her mornings. I packed up the kids, and left her pretty much everything else. I try not to look back. She hasn't seen 'em since Mother's Day, now. Before that it was February. Hasn't had 'em overnight since last December. I do my best. Being a single dad is hard, but I have an amazing family who saves me so much. I still don't really like the guy in the mirror, but he's getting more likable every day.